Hey guys, welcome. Today's video is definitely going to be a little different than my usual. If you haven't noticed, a change of scenery. It's also a missing persons case. I normally don't dabble in those very often. This one was just too insane not to. It's crazy because there's so many different things that could have happened to Amy. Her disappearance was strange and unexplainable. Instead of talking about her disappearance, I'm going to be going over all of the theories of what could have happened to her that night. If you haven't seen it already, which I'm sure you probably have, there's a Netflix documentary out about Amy. And it goes in depth and long detail about her disappearance, what happened the night she went missing. There's lots of eyewitness testimonies and interviews with friends, family, and the last people to see her alive. Because of that documentary, I'm not going to speak much on what happened to her as much as the theories. There are so many different theories of what could have happened to her, but I'm going to tell you them in the order of which I think is most likely, or what I think seems to make the most sense. The first half of the video is going to be based off the premise that Amy is still alive, because that's what I believe. And the second half of the video will be based off the premise that she died the night she went missing off of the cruise. The first theory is that Amy was sex trafficked. There's lots of evidence to support this theory, and lots of evidence that says that maybe Amy is still alive out there. First, I'm going to show you the photos of Amy. These photos were emailed to Amy's family in September of 2005. A forensic analyst did look over the photos, and in his opinion, he believed that those photos were Amy Bradley. The theory that she was sex trafficked goes into play with these photos because the night that she went missing, she was at a party with her brother on the ship, and they're partying, they're having a good time. They go back up to their room, have a conversation out on the patio. The brother goes inside the cabin to go to sleep. Amy remains on the patio because she feels wheezy, and the dad says that he sees Amy's feet around 5 o'clock in the morning when he awakens, and then when he gets up at 6, she was gone. Now, the theory is that Amy left the room, went to meet Yellow, he's mentioned in the documentary, this is just a theory, for drugs. It said that Amy meets with Yellow, and then 2 eyewitnesses see Yellow and Amy walking past them, and then they see Yellow again. As he passes them, Amy is not with him, and his head is hung down in chains. So the theory is that Yellow took Amy, docked her off of the ship. I had some technical difficulties with my mic, so if the video's messed up here, I do apologize. It said that Yellow docked her off the ship and sold her into sex trafficking. There are things to corroborate this evidence, one being the sightings of Amy in Curaçao, Barbados, and Aruba. These sightings, one was from a woman who said she's seen Amy in a bathroom, and another was from a man in the Navy who said he had seen Amy at a brothel. The thing that makes me mad about that certain eyewitness report was that he waited all those years in his own selfish reasons so he wouldn't get disciplined by the Navy to report that sighting. And she asked him for help, and she could have gotten it had he not been so selfish. Anyway, also another eyewitness account of seeing Amy from a taxi driver. Those back up the theory that she was sex trafficked. I also think the amyismissing.com website that keeps getting the hits of someone being on that website from the islands says that could also be Amy, because the hits that they're getting, the digital footprint, is that someone from these islands, Curaçao, Barbados, and Aruba, are checking this website on days that are special or significant to Amy's family, like Amy's anniversary of her disappearance, her birthday. She also checks, or someone also checks for Christmases and holidays. I think that also corroborates the story that she was sex trafficked. The photos, the forensic analyst did say that he believed that was Amy. I believe that that's Amy in those photos. I think the reasons she hasn't come back yet are unknown. If she has been sex trafficked, I think she could have children. I think that she could have Stockholm syndrome. She could be worried about the safety and well-being of her family. But one thing that does go against this theory is she would be in her 50s by now. With Amy being in her 50s, and we know that most sex traffickers prefer younger women and younger people. So that's the theory that Amy was sex trafficked. The next theory is that Amy willingly left the boat to start a new life. This theory does have some good points to it, starting with the letter that Amy sent her ex-lover that she broke up with before going on the cruise. I think this letter is very telling. The message in a bottle seems kind of symbolic. Also, in the other eyewitness testimonies, Amy didn't seem to ask for help. She kind of only seemed to ask the guy from the Navy for help. What goes against this theory, she did have a dog back at home that she just got. She just got an apartment. She just got a new job. She had just graduated college that prior December. So I think there were things that Amy had to look forward to coming back home from this trip. I think it, to me, seemed like it could be a refresher for her instead of starting a new life. I don't believe that. I don't think that she went to start a new life. Another theory that her brother actually just came out with was that Amy was taken by Scientology. The theory of Scientology was not mentioned in the Netflix documentary, but it did come from Amy's brother. Amy's brother, Brad, said that two men dressed in full naval attire and all white came knocking at the door after the ship had done their search for Amy and was asking all kinds of questions about Amy. And one specific phrase Brad remembered them asking was, okay, now that you've lost Amy, what do you feel like you haven't lost? The two would later introduce themselves as officers of the Scientology ship Free Winds. Now, Amy's family did not call them and invite them to their room. The crew on the ship did not call them and invite them to their room. So they thought that was odd and suspicious that these two naval looking officers from the Free Wind ship are coming asking all these questions about Amy. Not only did they keep repeating the phrase, what do you feel like you haven't lost? They asked questions about Amy like, what's her favorite food? What was she doing when she went missing? Toward the end of this weird experience, the two naval officers offered to give them some sort of nerve assist, is what they called it. They laid each member of the Bradley family on the bed and rubbed up and down their back. And this would go on for about a minute or so until Amy's father would actually ask them to leave. That theory is a little weird. I definitely think it's weird that the people from the ship came over and was asking all these questions like they were the police investigating this disappearance. But I don't know. Correct me in the comments. What does the Church of Scientology have to gain from abducting people off a cruise ship? Maybe for work, for labor, I don't know. Chime in the comments, let me know. That wraps up the possible theories of if Amy is still alive, and now we will move to the second portion of the video where we are believing if Amy has died. The first theory of if Amy died the night on the cruise is that she fell. Now, this theory has kind of been disproved because of the science behind it. Investigators did show that the barrier of the patio came about right beneath her breast. She did just come out to her family as gay. Back in that era and that time, it was very taboo to be homosexual. So it is possible that she jumped and ended her own life. The theory is that she was pushed. Her brother was the last person out there with her that night. Theories have went around that her brother may have gotten in an argument with her. They were both drunk and that he could have pushed her. I don't think that's likely. He's been looking for her all these years. And the last theory is that there was foul play on the ship. Family or a crew member could have hurt her on the ship and she never did get off the ship. I don't think that's likely. I think they would have found her body. If she jumped, fell, or was pushed, they would have found her body on the shore eventually. Something would have washed up, kind of be disproven. But those are the theories of Amy Bradley. What's your theory? What do you think? A comment, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.